Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are, first up, the heaviest man in sports entertainment. It's Danny, the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Mr. Gimli, I'm not as heavy as I was yesterday. I had a big poo.
Oh, see, again, you've done it like within 30 seconds. Well, the intro's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Still under a minute, though. You should.
Well,
that's shameful.
It is shameful, but the World Olympic Committee are going to take that record away from me because it was drugs. It was drug induced.
And quite rightly so. Next up, our wisest ABWer and true gent, it's David Goonaholic. Hello, David.
Hello, Gimli. I keep thinking you're talking about someone else when you introduce me like that.
I can be nothing but complimentary when it comes to you, good sir.
Good man. You well?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you very much.
How close are we to puppies?
Oh, I would say we thought she was last night, but she's still very, very, very heavy breathing. So hopefully next couple of days, but I should keep you informed.
Good man.
No doubt. Right, next up, half-time Hobbit and full-time pirate. It's Kris Carpenter.
Arr.
Ah. Do you know this will be the first time that we've had Jace and you and me on the podcast since I saw Jace and he told me that you were about 5 foot tall.
And it nearly didn't happen. I mean, we should say I'm a very last minute parachutee into this podcast today. I've literally raced home from work for this. So
I know. Danny said sort out the guest lists and tweet them out there. So I managed to sort out the guest list. The original guest list of this was supposed to have not Kris, but Fife and Kate on it as well. But Fife is, well...
They're both the absences due to puppies, just different types, hopefully.
Yeah. You can well believe it when it comes to Fifey as well, can't you?
There will be puppies involved at the end of the night and G-strings.
Oh, definitely. Right then. Next up, following a lengthy court battle with Nestle over his move, the Kit Kat, but he did win this week because he can confirm that he's been using it since 1981. Jason, it's with chocolatey fingers that I invite you into the conversation. Hello.
I didn't think you were going to go that far.
Why do you think this didn't start recording until 8 o'clock?
That's quite good. That's brilliant.
You're welcome anytime. I feel I've gone half-assed on everybody else. And
in all fairness, with Dave, you have to be deferential, as you rightly were. With Kris, I thought that was brilliant, but I think you just nailed it.
It's fantastic. In a way, Fife is lucky he's not here.
And by the way, we should point out, if there are going to be puppies and G-strings involved, it will be Mrs. Fife.
Yes.
Obviously. Lady Fife.
Well, that goes
Lady Fife. Yeah, the lady. Oh, God. Tell you what, boys, nice to be here.
It is, isn't it? I feel reasonably upbeat this week.
Yeah. I tell you, it hasn't been the worst week, is it?
No, I give it about 15 seconds for me to start to be wound up. We'll start, as ever, by going over to Danny, who has all of the scores across the board and a loan watch, don't you, Danny?
You say all of the scores across all of the doors and a loan watch. Well, a loan watch is going to be Callum Chambers got relegated with Middlesbrough. Super Dan Crowley got relegated with Go Ahead Eagles. Who else has got relegated? I think actually Bielik barely avoided relegation with Birmingham. And I think Mr. ZLM got promoted, won the Dutch second division with VVV Venlo. I think there may have been a couple of others that have done pretty good. Isn't there someone else who's on loan somewhere who won the title? Who got promoted in? Oh, Chupa Chupa Apcom. Yeah, Chupa Chupa Apcom got promoted with Brighton, so that's a good thing. Although I think he played about 12 games and didn't score a single goal, but he was only really coming on for the last 10 minutes of games, really. So a good bit of experience. The under-18s have got to play one more game, but they lost to Chelsea. So one more game to go. Chelsea are 2 points clear. So if Chelsea lose and then we win, we have won the under-18s title, but there's bugger all chance of that. So we'll come runners-up in that league. And I think the ladies are playing tonight. So, yeah, I think they're playing...
No, the ladies played Chelsea last night.
Oh, yes, because...
they won.
Yeah.
Was
it? First time Chelsea haven't won this season.
because someone, I think it might have been Tim Stillman or someone like that, did a write-up about it, or it might have been LeGrove, one of those two did a write-up about it. I remember retweeting it and thinking, I should go and have a look at that, and I didn't.
That would have been Tim, because he went to the game.
Ah, yes, Tim's very good. Other than that, Gimli, there's not really much to talk about. Is there any particular player you'd like to know how he has got on his loan?
John Terrell.
Super John Terrell is at Glasgow Rangers. They lost 2-1 to Aberdeen last night. They're now going to finish third in the Scottish League. And for them, he has played 11 games, 1 goal, 2 assists. And he's played 3 games, 1 goal and 1 assist in the Scottish Cup as well. So he's done all right. He's had a terrible loan at Granada, who are now managed by the Arsenal legend Tony Adams. But he was on Hidington, I think, there, and they've lost every single game. But that's not the point, really, is it?
TV station as well.
Yes.
So, as always, we'd like to thank George Bird for that, and not Danny, of course.
Actually, if you want, I'll go and have a look at George Bird's thing, and I can just read out his bits, because he has given us permission to do it forever and ever. Which ones has he done? No, that's not it. Little bit there. No, it's just he's done a roundup of all the players how they've done this season. Takuma Asano, that's the other one I was thinking about. He was with VfB Stuttgart in the German second division. I think they've won.
Can I just stop you there?
Lost 1-0.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
What's happened?
Takuma Asano.
Yeah.
What a wonderful phrase.
Why? I think that a wonderful phrase.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Think about it, Danny. Have you never seen The Lion King?
No, I haven't. I fucking hate cartoons.
Carry on. Wasted.
There we go.
I'm wasted.
So you play 1 game to go in the German second division. Stuttgart are joint top with Hanover, but they have a goal difference of 4 better. So it comes down to the last game of the season, and he could well get a championship winners medal. They're playing Wolfsburg Kickers, who are second bottom. So, he's going to win the title there, which is good. I knew there was another one. Joel Campbell hasn't really done much at Sporting Lisbon. Dan Crowley's done pretty good because he's at a shit club. 16 games, 2 goals. One of them was a hell of a goal. Jack's back with us after being injured.
Why didn't Dan Crowley's loan move out at Oxford?
I think they said this was last season, wasn't it? I think they said
this season.
Yeah, because it was John Terrell who was also loaned and sent back. They said that he was too good and he was just playing for their academy side.
No,
it wasn't. No, it was not.
It was different.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you lot are thinking, but I'm just going to go along the official lines of he was too talented, and so they just left him in the academy side. I'm not going to say because he was out drinking and being a tit.
How's Bielik then?
Allegedly.
Bielik's done really well at Birmingham. I think he's become a bit of a fan favourite there, and they avoided relegation because they took Harry Redknapp in, and he won, I think, 2 out of the last 3 games, or was unbeaten for them, and they avoided relegation to Ligue 1 by the scrapes of their knees. I don't know what that means. Just made that saying up.
James has done well at Borough. They were on a hiding to nothing to begin with, weren't they?
Yeah, they went back to playing a 4-4-2 towards the end of the season, and he was playing centre back because sometimes they're moving from 3 at back to 4, and he was playing centre back or right back. But yeah, he's had a good loan there. It done him well. It's always good to be involved in a scrap. You don't want to go somewhere and have it too easy, do you? You're not going to learn anything from that. So we'll come back to Arsenal next season as a better player.
He's still got one massive performance ahead of him on Sunday, don't forget, when he's going to single-handedly take Borough to a win at Anfield.
Do you know what? If he does score a winner for Borough there, it would be so beautiful. I honestly...
Would it beat 1-1 at Newcastle, though? I'm not sure.
It would beat the shit out of 5-1 at Newcastle, I'll tell you what.
Did you watch Szczesny's game at the weekend, Kris?
For Roma against Juventus, indeed.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Go on, tell people about how good it was and how that was only Juventus' 5th loss in the league all season. They're runaway champions, aren't they?
Yeah, albeit a slightly scratch Juve. Well, not scratch, but a less strength. Yeah,
they played in the cup final midweek, and they got the Champions League final coming up. So just trying to give players games.
Yeah, it's not one performance. Szczesny's been outstanding all season.
Would you say he's goalkeeper of the season?
In Europe or in Italy? In Italy, definitely. Yeah. There's only, I think, obviously Buffon. You can't.
And we haven't got anyone qualified enough to talk about La Liga.
So no. I know a guy who. No, wait, no, I don't.
John Welsh put in the group the other day. He hasn't conceded a goal from outside the box all season.
True. It's true. There's only been one goalkeeper in Europe that's had better stats, which is Stéphane Ruffier at St Etienne, who are a heavily defensive side. Roma are quite an expansive attacking side, so they do leave a lot of gaps. Oh, Spurs just scored. They leave a lot of gaps at the back, so it's not like he hasn't been busy. It's not like he's been putting his feet up. Roma are not defensively sound. It's very weird that they don't want to. Well, I say don't want to keep him. That they seem to be looking in other directions. I think Big Wojciech quite fancies an idea of coming back to the quote unquote new Arsenal, but it's whether his thank you for that. It's whether his nemesis, Mr. Payton. Steve, don't throw it out the window. Just
steady,
chill,
Steve. Steady.
It'll be fine, Steve. But yeah, I think it all depends on whether Mr. Payton sticks around. Because I know a lot of people have said he wouldn't come back if Czech is number one. I think he might. It's only one season realistically that Czech will probably be number one, and I think even an experienced keeper of Petr Cech's age and experience he's going to know that he's not going to go on forever. I don't think he'd be absolutely distraught if a young goalkeeper, 27-year-old goalkeeper came in and started getting some games. So I don't know. I've got a sneaky feeling he might come back in the summer. I hope so.
And playing for Roma, who Juventus are by far and away the best team in Italy by a million miles, but Roma are arguably the second best team. And in the 2 seasons he's been there, this season he's played every single game, and last season I think he missed 4 games in total. He only plays league games, so he doesn't play in the Cups or the Champions League, does he?
And more importantly than all of that, he's grown up, I think. I mean, he's still got his cheeky side, but he's married now. I think he's settled. His personal life is a lot more settled. He doesn't have Mr. Wilshere sharing a dressing room with him. As much as I love Jack, I think those two together were, it's powder keg, isn't it? But yeah, he's grown up now. He seems like a well-rounded young man, and I mean, he burst on. In fairness, he burst onto the scene at Arsenal, didn't he? There wasn't a lot of protection for him, and he didn't help himself, granted, but he was a very young goalkeeper thrown into one of the biggest clubs in the world and expected to be number one straight away. And I think this loan it's done in the world of good if as I say, he's up for the challenge. I really hope we don't sell him to a club that's going to compete with us in Europe. I'd like to see him give it a year with us and see if he can be number one, because he's good enough. We've all known that. It's whether he can mature enough, and he seems to have this season. So bring him back.
George Bird has also done his own awards, and he is given the biggest first team impact awards to Ashley Maitland-Niles.
Conservative.
Better late than never. And he's given the best under-23 player to Reece Nelson, who is very, very good. That was a tough one. Yeah, that'd be a tough one because you've got some really decent young players. And the best under-18 player, can you guess my favourite under-18 player?
Eddie Nikita?
Hey, big Ed. Yeah, he is He is in the mould of Ian Wright. The man is an absolute machine. Got him from Chelsea a couple of years ago. Last season, I think he scored almost a goal a game. This season, he's doing the same thing. He's only 17. He's playing for the under-18s and the under-23s. And I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully, next season he gets a few games in the League Cup. We've got so many young, attacking, promising players coming through. And the best schoolboy is Trey Coyle. Coyle. That's not me saying it wrong. And the best loanee is Kalichi Nwakalaki. But someone said in the YouTube they're going to tell me how to say that properly, and I forgot.
If any of those make the first team, Danny, the big question that I know all of our listeners are going to want to ask is: are you going to tell him to fucking sort his life out like you did with Dennis?
I'm going to tell him to change his fucking name to Bob Smith, and then sort your life out. Right, go on, Gim. We've been nattering about that. You thought I had nothing to say. I always have something to say.
No, I just didn't think you had prepared properly.
I did most of that from memory. I didn't look at any websites at all, honest.
The guy's a pro.
He's not. For anyone that wants to listen to the Easter eggs when Gav was on a couple of weeks back, half an hour that was. Seriously. Just go and listen to it. You will fully understand. We will get back to the show. We'll continue on with the show then by dissecting our 4-1 away win over Stoke. Kris, you can kick us off.
Stoke, yes, Stoke. It was a very un-Arsenal at Stoke-like performance, wasn't it? Albeit, I have to caveat this slightly and say that Stoke were abysmal, which is the best kind of Stoke, I find. Very, very much off colour. Jace will probably tell you a little bit that I think the natives are a little bit restless with a certain Mr. Hughes. But they didn't impress me at all, Stoke. It's weird because they seem to have gone completely backwards from the club that we all used to fear and, have these issues with, this big physical approach. And it was quite kind of apt that the only goal they scored was, yes, from a long ball forwards and then a cross into the box. And of course they had to cheat to put it into the net. And I've heard a lot of people weirdly actually listen to the Guardian pod, and I think it's Barney Ronay was making a bit of a joke out of it, saying, "Oh, well, it's just football. Oh, it's all a good laugh." No, it's not. It's cheating, and I don't think enough was really made of that. I think because it was big, lanky Peter Crouch, and because Arsenal won the game, nothing was made of it. But in light of something that the FA are going to probably bring in next season, maybe we'll talk about later, that might well change in the future. Players trying to cheat to get an advantage, but from an Arsenal perspective, yeah, I mean, we were impressive. There's a tinge of frustration about the performance because you look at that and you go, where was this in December and January and February and basically every other month this season? And there is that element of some of the people, particularly our supporters, will look at the players and go, yeah, you can do it when there's no pressure on you. But we've known that about this club and the manager and the players for years. We've always been a team that can perform when there's nothing riding on it and when the pressure's off. And sadly, we fail too many times at grounds like this when the pressure's really on. Be honest, I did believe after that result that top four was achievable. I'm still on the bandwagon. I'm just about clinging on. I listened to the excellent radio show Jace hosted the other night, and bless him, Carl was getting some stick for being Johnny Doommonger. But I still believe. And the one thing I would say that really came out of that game is, as much as he frustrates us, Alexis Sanchez is so very vital to this team. And I know that people will say he's frustrating, he loses the ball. Christ, I've been one of them on a number of occasions. But the guy's a match winner, and he he is an elite footballer. And a lot of people made a big song and dance out of this celebration that he had pointing to the badge in the ground and whatnot. I just think that as much as good a player as he is, it's not just about how good a player he is. It's about how the other players look at him and how the players, how the fans sort of react to him and how he essentially can drag us through games. And he very nearly came off in this game, which we never ever see. And then 30 seconds later, he powers through a bit of an injury by the looks of it and essentially got the key goal, because at 2-1 we were looking a bit ropey. And once we tied the game up with this goal, it was sort of plain sailing from there. So, yeah, good performance. And only other thing I'll mention about that game is Mr. Ramsey, hold your head up high, son, because you've got more class than any of those fuckwits in Stoke will ever have.
Well said. Jace, we'll go with you then. And the first thing I'll start is, even at 0-0, we had a plane flying across the ground. Wenger out means out. Jace, what would you like to say to the person that paid for that plane?
Does anybody give a fuck? Do you know what I mean? Genuinely, I have my views on the manager, right? I have my views on them. If people want to protest. But you're spending good money on a fucking plane. It's been done before. We were all calling United fans classless and idiots when they did it. And it's just getting to the point where, I'm more interested in a cup final and the team winning than anything else. You see people wanting us to lose to affect change. I can never, ever bring myself to accept that. Okay? I can't. I just can't. I don't give a shit who's in charge. Right? But, whatever's going to happen is beyond us. We had... There are some really, really big statements being made at the moment on both sides of the argument, to be fair. It's not just one side of the argument here, which is boring the tits off me. On both sides of the argument, I just don't give a fuck. I couldn't give a monkeys. I'm more interested in Ollie Giroud grabbing 2 goals after I thought he started really badly. But, managing to get in the right positions to finish them. I'm more interested in the fact of why hasn't Peter Crouch been sent off for studs up challenge going off the ground. I'm more interested in the fact that, Francis Coughlin actually played well. I know there was no press and he had all the time in the world, but he still played well. Good for him. And I'm more interested in the fact it's our first win away at Stoke in 7 or 8 years or whatever it is, or however many years. I'm not sure. But, it's all gotten a bit fucking petty and a bit fucking pathetic. And I couldn't give a monkey's. If Arsene Wenger's there next season, I'll support him. I'll support whoever represents this team, even Frankie Coquelin. You can ask Danny, who would I choose as first scorer for that game? Francis Coquelin, because I want him to do well, even though I think he's shit. Okay? I want him to do well. But, I think it's time for Arsene Wenger to go. I genuinely do. But whoever's managing this club next season, I'm fucking supporting. So fuck off and leave me alone.
Lovely stuff. We'll continue by talking about the build-up to the first goal then. Absolutely superb. A ping ball from Xhaka to Coquelin and Bellerin, sliding the ball to Giroud to slot home. David, it was almost like watching Arsenal of old, wasn't it? Why couldn't they do this more?
Dave's on mute.
He's probably on mute because Spurs just
I'm
scored.
on mute.
2-0.
Oh.
That's why he had to mute himself to hide the tears. Bloody scums.
Yeah, I can't tell you what I'm watching on the iPad right now. It's bad news. It really is. Anyway, that first goal. I don't know where the whole performance came from last week, Gim, because it was an Arsenal that we haven't seen probably since Southampton away in the FA Cup in January. All of a sudden, there was a liveliness to the way that we did things. We were moving the ball quickly, accurately, and Stoke didn't know what to do, really, for the first half. And when we got the second goal as well, which was another cracker, if you remember, when Mesut and Alexis got together and set up Alexis just to dink that one, Mesut to dink that one in. It was Alexis, wasn't it?
No, it was Ozil.
Ozil, yeah. But after that, Kris was saying earlier that Stoke weren't their usual selves, but actually when they went 2-0 down, they did revert to type, and there were some really nasty challenges and sly digs going on, both on and off the ball, that were just totally ignored by Mike Dean. Of course, they got the goal then, and they thought that the strong arm tactics were working. So the way we finished them off after that was just wonderful. Like Kris said, that goal that Alexis smashed in when he was wanting to be taken off was just different class. And I'm glad Giroud got a second goal as well, because like Francis Coquelin, he got a lot of stick beforehand on Twitter for his selection. So it was a good day for both those. Really chuffed for him.
It was a good day all round, and for many. Danny, you have been someone that's been very, very, very critical of Mesut Ozil. I think you said a few weeks back that you'd sell him if given the choice over the summer. What do you make of his last few performances? Because from what I've seen, he's been a different class.
He has. It's I'm not sure if the new formation is freeing him up not to have to do so much tracking back, because you've now got the wing backs making it a 4-man midfield when going forward, and the first part of the defending bit before they have to drop in to make a kind of back five. It's almost as if he's got more freedom, and I don't know if it's the new formation. I don't know if it's because it's the end of the season and the rest of the Premier. A lot of the teams we have played have given up. They're on the beach, and it's a saying I don't like to say, but it is. It's so true at this point every season. Teams just give up. But at least we're not giving up. We're still going on because players need to play for their place in the cup final. And he has been magnificent. Some of the stuff that between him and Sanchez of this season, I mean, this run of, was it 7 wins in 8 games or 6 wins in 7 games, has been absolutely outstanding. If you made a highlight reel of that, then you'd look at that and go, wow, these two, you must have won the Premier League 10 years in a row. And you go, oh, no, didn't. We've had our worst Premier League position in nearly 25 years. So it is annoying that he's turning it on now rather than doing it all season. I would sell him. And it's people moaning about Sanchez is what I don't get. I'd play if Sanchez said I want to play in goal, I'd let him play in goal. He's that good. He is an absolute delight to watch. But those two playing in that position behind whichever striker Wenger feels is the one to do the job, which I quite like, because you need a battering ram of Giroud against Stoke, and then played him again against Sunderland. Those kind of games, having a tricky, pacey forward up there is not really going to do you much. You need someone who's going to get their elbows out, who's going to get stuck in, and Giroud showed that with his 2 goals. And still, didn't play the full 90 minutes. But the thing that impressed me most about this game was the way Bellerin, who we all know isn't fully fit, the way he's now getting down that right-hand side. And in the I think one of the games as well, Mustafi, must have been the Sunderland game, Mustafi came down the right-hand side as well. And they're putting in magnificent crosses. And that's the stuff that Giroud should have been having for the entire 4-5 seasons he's been at Arsenal. And it just shows that when you do that, and you do let Ozil play where you want, and when you do give balls in the air for Giroud to do stuff like that, we can go on magnificent runs. So I think it's a combination of so many things. If I had my choice, I'd rather Ozil stay because of performances like this. But when people complained about him in this season, what's he got, like 13 goals or something like that, and about 11 assists without looking it up? I know it's something really high, and considering he's missed at least a month's worth of games, maybe even more, and he's been out of form for ages, and still to have that kind of season with that kind of interplay that he's got with Sanchez that he's had in the last few games, and the stats that he's got are just magnificent. I mean, he got. Do you want to know Ozil watch?
Yes, of course I do. I want you to do one for the next game and all.
Okay, yeah, he got an Opta rating of 7.7, and it says, which one is the red one? One dribble, 85% pass success rate, 5.7 possession, one shot, a rating of 7.65. They rounded it up to 7.7. And the freedom that because with Xhaka playing like he is in midfield, and in that game he had Coquelin playing there as well. So then there's a lot less need for him to go back. I know we moan that Sanchez does drift back into midfield to go and get the ball because people aren't giving it to him often enough or quickly enough. He wants to go get it and then bring it back up on his own. Ozil shouldn't have to do that. Ozil should be, look, if anything goes in our own half, don't. But let's just have a sit down on the centre spot. I don't want him tracking back, especially when you got the likes of Xhaka and Coquelin on there, and Ramsey. It's like one of you said Ramsey was brilliant because Ramsey is brilliant. I mean, I wasn't sure if Wenger left him out of that game because it was Stoke or whether he left him out of that game for tactics. But either way, when Ramsey came on and he got the assist, it was magnificent. And like I think it was Kris said, that bloke has got more class, and all of those players and all them fans put together to just come on and just carry on doing what he has been doing of recent games. Like Dom has said, don't bring it as soon as he's in fit. Don't bring him back in and make him play 90 minutes. Give him a few games as a substitute. Don't make him play the whole 90 minutes when he is playing fit. And now look at him coming up to the FA Cup final, and it's almost the Ramsey of old, isn't it? Not that season where he scored 14, 15 goals because that was a freak season playing out of position. But the Ramsey that we want, the one in midfield, the Ramsey playing almost a kind of Santi role. And I think this is all working out for him. So I'm really pleased with both of those results and all of the players and the formation and the manager. And as for the plane thing, I'd rather you just stood up and shouted Wenger out or something rather than hiring a bloody plane. It's protest how you want, but I do
totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's just a waste of money. That I'm not a big one for charity, but you could have given that to our Forzathon charity. You could have given that money to that, and that'd have gone to to help Macmillan. But you've wasted it on a plane 3 or 4 times now. It could have been better spent. I'd rather you stand up and call the manager the C word. I don't agree with calling the manager or the players that, but that would have been a better way to have done it rather than waste your money on a plane. All it is make you look silly, unfortunately. Like was it you, Jace, that said when Man United did it, we all laughed at them?
Yeah, I mean, look, I totally respect the fact they want the manager out. I got no problem that when they protest, I got no problem with that. Okay, I got no problem there. But we're just making ourselves like a laughing stock now, and it hurts me because. You know, these aren't bad people. These aren't idiots.
No.
They're
frustrated.
Yeah, but when you go so far down the rabbit hole, and this applies to either side. This applies to when you can't see any wrong in what Wenger's done, and when you begin to hate the man. When it's just so much negativity, you just lose the audience. There have been some really coherent arguments made for wanting Arsene Wenger gone. Some really interesting, coherent arguments, which have got me thinking. When I thought Arsene should stay, they've made me think. But when you go down this line, I'm sorry, I just don't want to know about it. I just don't want to know.
Sadly true. But the other thing I just wanted to add about that is I've titled this podcast Big Bob Holding. That seems to be something that's trending. I think Josh said it on the radio show that you hosted after this game, Kris, and I've started using the hashtag none shall pass because, my God, that boy brings a smile to my face. And that bit where someone in the crowd was filming and went, "You're better than John Stones," and he just stood there and smiled. That boy, something else.
He likes a tackle as well, doesn't he,
Oh,
Danny?
he
I saw
doesn't
him.
fuck around.
Few crunching tackles at the weekend.
And that
Absolutely
poor old
lovely.
Arnautovic.
Yeah.
I'll leave that for someone else to talk about, but that was a thing of beauty.
Kris, discuss Arnautovic.
Poetic justice, wasn't it?
Destination fucked.
Do you know what? To be honest, I would rather it sort of teed me up quite nicely there. I'd rather talk about Rob Holding than Arnautovic. I mean, Arnautovic he's a very talented footballer, but let's be honest, I described him on the radio show. He's Lidl Zlatan. He is the budget Zlatan as best you can get. He copies his hairstyle, copies his tattoos, the lot, but he's never going to be as good as Zlatan. So rein it in, son. But no, I'm sure Mathieu Debuchy sat on a private island somewhere counting his many millions of pounds, had a little wry smile across his face as the big lumbering Austrian went tumbling to the floor and was essentially ended for the season. So good on Rob Holding. But it's funny, there's a discussion going on. I think it was on Jace's favourite podcast, the as Danny calls it, the Football-tastically podcast, where they were talking about sort of the captain of Arsenal and saying, that it's been I think it was 200 odd games since our official named club captain has played or started a game, which is just nuts. But they were saying about, when Tony Adams came into the side, and there's been a lot of comparisons with Rob Holding. I think that's completely unfair. And it, as much as we want him to be somebody as good as that, I think it's completely unfair to put that much pressure on the kid. But he does have the aura of a lad who not only has that confidence and that ability to get on the ball and do things, but he also, weird way of looking at it, he also, to me, exhibits a player who's prepared to make a mistake and prepared to fail to learn. And that's such a huge thing in the modern game because there's too many footballers in Premier League, Champions League clubs that just play safe and just do the simple things because they're so afraid to make a mistake. And part of what made John Stones sort of so hyped was that he would take a chance, he'd take a gamble. And I've noticed the more games he played for Man City, the less he would try and do things. He'd just keep the possession of the ball like sort of Guardiola teams tend to do. And I think you kind of lose the player that he is. And it's all about decision making and knowing when to distribute the ball. I'm not a huge sort of fan of Gerard Piqué, but he's known as a player who developed when he left Manchester United because he was taken in by Barcelona quite young and he was just given that license to be a player who could play his own game and develop his own game and be a footballing centre half. And as much as I'm not so sure about him defensively, he's come on absolutely leaps and bounds. And when you look at someone like Rob Holding, you think, well, you know what? He is now legitimately a first choice player, especially in this back three. And in truth, I'd find it hard to drop him even if we had a back four, because I think him and Koscielny is a pretty good partnership. And that's ahead of a 20 odd million centre back in Mustafi. So, when you break it all down and you look at a player like Holding and you say, what's the chances of him being a future Arsenal legend, a future Arsenal captain? I can kind of see why some people are saying, if he carries on this trajectory, maybe you could stick a bit of responsibility on him. I think it's a bit too soon, but he's learning fast. He's completely unflustered. He's very, very good on the ball. I love that little driving run he had against Sunderland where he just picked it up and just went on to a pass. And it's been a long time. David might be better to mention this, but it's been a long time since I can remember an Arsenal crowd actively getting on their feet for a player breaking from the back and striding forward. The last time I can really remember it was when Patrick Vieira would pick up the ball from deep and just stride through midfields. And I'm not saying Rob Holding is as good as Patrick Vieira. They're two different types of players and two different types of positions, but I can still sort of see those days when the crowd would get on edge. And when he did that run, I think it's quite early on against Sunderland, and he just exchanged passes and went on again, that you could see the fans they sort of went to the knees, then got up, all stood up. It's like a big as he got the shot away, won a corner, and that's what you want from a young player, a player with responsibility and the ability to get on the ball and as I said, not be afraid to make mistakes, because he will make them. And it's important that we don't do the Iwobi. And what I mean by that is, of course, bury a player if he has a couple of poor games. You've got to keep with the kid and let him develop and not pressure him into making these errors that could effectively restrict his ability that he's clearly got. Because I think he's a really, really good prospect. And what was it? £1 million we paid for him?
2 million, I think.
2 million quid, and we were going to pay. We didn't pay the money for Gary Cahill. Well, okay, we probably needed Gary Cahill at the time. We didn't pay the money, but in the long run, I think we've got a better centre half in Holding in the long run, I think.
Yeah, Cahill's career is nearly over, though, isn't it? Come on, he's got league titles.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Kettle fish. But the great thing about Holding, sorry to cut in, he was doing an interview on Arsenal player or something with one of the other guys, and he was laughing about one of the mistakes he made in one of the games previously, and you can tell he's thinking about learning, and he's not scared to make mistakes. He knows he's going to make them, but he's got that attitude of, okay, well, if I make one, I'm going to learn from it and move on.
Yeah, and did you hear him in that interview, Jace, after the game when they were joking about Spurs and he said, oh, you could do with West Ham doing you a favour, and he said, well, West Ham did us a favour against Spurs. I was cheering him on then. I thought, I like that. You're a proper Arsenal. He's a sort of player you can imagine in the heat of I was going to say White Hart Lane, whatever the shit tip that's going to be called, the fucking Cheese Room Stadium, whatever they're going to name it. But you can imagine him. Sort of 90 minutes on the clock, Arsenal 2-1 up, and he just goes and smashes a Spurs player up in the air just because he can. You can imagine him doing that, and I like that about him.
I think he's got the appetite for it, doesn't he? He's just excited at the opportunity, and he just wants it.
He's taking it, hasn't he? Taking the opportunity.
And you look at it, you got Chambers coming back off a good loan. Okay. These two partnered each other in the Toulon tournament, which England won at under 21s. And, I think he could help Chambers' development as well, because they know each other so well. It could be very exciting times for us.
Chambers in a back three with Koscielny either side. Wouldn't be bad, would it?
Well, Koscielny, look, with his Achilles at the moment, how long's he got?
No, I wanted to talk to you guys about that this week because I heard stories that Koscielny was never, ever going to be peak fitness again. They would have to properly manage his injury. And I wanted to gauge a little bit of reaction on that. David, if you'd like to give us some thought on Koscielny's injuries and whether you'd heard the same news as me.
Yeah, he has to have treatment before every game. And I think that was known by a few beforehand, and it is a concern going forward. And yet you look at the way he's played for most of the season, even though it's been a problem all of the season, and you think, well, okay, I think it's storing up trouble for him in later life. So he may decide at some point to retire earlier than he might otherwise have done. So we might be seeing the last couple of years of him. I hope not, because he's obviously a class act. But no, it's a real shame to see him developing that condition.
And we'll stick with you again, David, and just your thoughts on Holding. Again, loves the tackle. You've heard what the boys have got to say about him. What are your thoughts? I think he's been fantastic from what we've seen.
So do I, but I'm always wary. Someone mentioned Iwobi. I'm wary of us building up these young lads only to knock them down again afterwards. The key season for Rob now is going to be next season, because everybody will have studied the videos. Everybody will have looked for his weak points and will be playing on those next season. And it would be great to think that he would go on improving and establish himself in the side next year, because he could be the heart of our defence for many years, like people are saying. But that second season is when you find out about players. Once other teams know about them and target them, it's how they react to that. I wish him good luck.
And me. Danny, we'll have the final word from you on this one. It was Petr Cech's 400th league appearance. What a number that is.
It's, especially as it's in the Premier League, some players don't make that throughout their entire career. So it's just magnificent. It's a shame that this is his third season with us. I think you mentioned earlier that you think, or someone mentioned that last season might be his last season with us. Is that because he signed a 4-year deal? I think it might be. So it would be nice if we do make an effort in the next season, a bigger effort to try and win stuff, because it'd be great for him to be one of only a handful of players to have won the Premier League with two different clubs. But he's going to, hopefully win the FA Cup this season. He wasn't in goal for the 14 or the 13 finals. Was he in goal for either of those two? Was it Chesney or was it Ospina? I'm never sure who he moves around in goals for those ones. So, yeah, you may look back at this as a bit of a wasted career move, because by coming to Arsenal, who are known for being a quite defensively solid team over recent years, to the last couple of years, we have been quite shaky at the back and letting more goals than you would have thought. So, yeah, but to reach 400 Premier League games, that's magnificent. But he's only 34, is he? 34, 35? He should have plenty of years left in him. Yeah, I'm just looking here, and most number of games this season. Oh, you've done it upside down, haven't you, you tit? Where is he? Petr Cech. He's 34. Played 36 Premier League games this season. Yeah, I think he should. If he does leave us, he's going to have to go somewhere else, because he can't retire at 34, can he?
No, he's got a couple of years left in him at the top level.
When you look at, it's not really fair to compare any goalkeeper to Buffon, but Buffon's best part of 40 now, and he's still playing at the very, very top. So you'd thought a player like Petr Cech would still be able to be playing at 38, maybe if he doesn't make a move to somewhere like the USA, or maybe go back home to the Czech Republic, because that's where Thomas Wasicki went. He's back with, I think, Sparta Prague, or one of the Prague teams. Played one game all season.
He might go back there. There are a lot of players from that kind of end of the woods tend to be quite loyal to go back. It's like Zlatan always said he wanted to go back to Malmo, wasn't it? Some players do like to go back to that sort of end of things. They like to finish their career. I couldn't imagine Cech in USA, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I could imagine him somewhere like Holland or something. I'm not sure, but he's still.
He's interested in coaching, where it could be like a player-coach kind of deal.
I think he might be, because there was talk of that at Chelsea, wasn't there, for a while? There was talk that he would sort of help bringing the younger goalkeepers on, and they never really wanted to let him go. And the only reason they sort of in the end decided was because Abramovich kind of vetoed the manager at the time, wasn't it? Was it Jose at the time? Didn't want to sell him to us, and Abramovich said, well, after so much loyal service, we'd be willing to let him do what he wanted. But yeah, and don't forget, of course, that head injury. I know he's okay now, but that might have shortened an element of the career. As he gets older, he might actually look at it and think, what, is it worth the risk the older I get? So, it's I suppose it depends on the player, but yeah, I can imagine him as a good coach, and he's the sort of goalkeeper you'd want to bring on the younger goalkeepers. You hear what Emi Martinez says about him, and I'm sure David Ospina would have good things to say. I know Ryan Huddart's been very complimentary of what he's done for him in training, and I've heard that from somebody who personally knows him as well. And he's a very good influence on the backroom staff, and you can't have enough experienced players even in the background of the squad, let alone in the squad. So you'd like to think we keep him.
Yes. Right. Is there anything anyone else wanted to mention on the Stoke game?
Fuck them.
Just so they
we'll
can't
move on then. Inbred.
Yeah.
Sing us out.
The bottom feeding cunts can go fuck off. And
what about Sparky, Jay?
Oh, fuck him. I loved him in a Welsh jersey, okay? And that's it. He can fuck off.
They've gone backwards, though, aren't they, Stoke? They're not the side they were. Some of those players.
They're on the beach, aren't they? They're safe. Yeah. They're on the beach. They don't care.
They need to clear out of some of those players, the high earners like Shaqiri and Arnautovic, and I think Peter Crouch could be going. And Butland, who is one of the best young goalkeepers, he was ruined in that game, wasn't he? Turned inside out. Shawcross was one of his first games back. He was a mess.
It's tough times when even Charlie Adams giving us credit on 5 Live. That's when it's rock bottom. Even he said that we played well, so it's proper panic stations when they're giving us compliments. And at least they've learned how to fill their ground in a little bit, though. I noticed they've put one of the corners in now, so it's less windy up there, because Jesus, it's cold up that place. My God.
Lovely. Our next game was Sunderland at home and a 2-0 win on the night. Jace, start us off.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Didn't use a
Hello.
This. Sorry. First half was really painful, wasn't it? It was a really frustrating first half where we had all the possession, all the pressure. They had a couple of breakaways, but they threatened a little bit on the breakaway, but nothing seemed to go away. Alexis, up until the point where he scored the opener, I thought he had a putrid game, and it was really frustrating. And it wasn't for overcomplicating things. It's just things weren't coming off for us. You know, Jordan Pickford had one of those games where, you know, same old. Keeper comes to him. I know he's a talented keeper, and Simon Collins really rates him, as do a few of the guys. But you know, his performance is superb. You know, he had one save from Rambo at the end of the first half, which was magic. If Ollie Giroud, you know, if the ball hadn't hit his arm in the first half, it could have been a much easier night for us. But nothing seemed to click, you know. But it was just frustrating. I just didn't feel, you know, we got ourselves going properly. We started well. We kind of dipped off. They didn't cause us any problems. Second half, they had the natural back pass, which was, wow. You know, you'd be having nightmares about that for years to come. You know, that could have gone badly wrong, but we defended the set piece well. You know, Xhaka getting to, I thought it was a clever free kick from them. But he got in there, he cleared it. We seemed to have a cohesiveness about this, even when things weren't going our way. And then the player that Alexis is, you know, for as much of a frustrating night as he'd had, you know, he comes up and does the business. And after we scored, you know, it was a matter of how many. I genuinely thought we'd go on to score 3 or 4, but it was only the 2. I was happy with it in the end, at the end of the game, because it could have been, you know, somewhere where we slipped up, but we've kept the pressure on Liverpool. I thought Roger East had a strange game. I didn't understand some of the decisions, but not that it affected what we were doing, really. But it wasn't an enjoyable game for me. I didn't enjoy the game. I was relieved more than anything at the end of it. And it's a shame the crowd was so long. You know, we've spoken earlier on about the aeroplane. Well, I don't know how much of an effect the boycott had. You know, it's a Tuesday night in London. Nothing much to play for at the end of the season. I've no doubt there was a large section of the fans who did genuinely stay away. And I think there was a section of them who just couldn't be bothered or couldn't get there. But, you know, we've got to acknowledge that, you know, I've said my piece on the plane, which I can't stand. The boycott, I got no problem with. But it was a disappointing crowd. And no doubt that affected the game to some degree as well.
I think the word to describe this game probably is frustrating. David, I came to you. That we had so much possession, so many shots on goal. Did you know we had 36 shots on goal?
Yeah, and 30 odd, and they had 8, didn't they? I think something like that. Yeah. And we had, I think, 11 of them were on target, and they had 2. But no, you're right. It was very frustrating for the first hour. And the strange thing that came out of it, really, for me, was the fact poor old Rambo went down again. Looks like a recurring strain injury. But it was when that happened, all of a sudden Iwobi came on and we looked a little bit lively again, which was, you know, we'd taken time in the second half to get into it, bearing in mind how much on top we had been in the first. I think we had something like 70% of the possession in the first half, but then it was much more even at the start of the second. But yeah, absolutely delighted. And finally we got the breakthrough. And it was Xhaka who picked out Ozil on the left. And he just played it beautifully first time, right into the path of Alexis. He couldn't really miss it, could he? So having done that, like I think Jay said, it was a question of how many were we going to get. And the tap in he got when Pickford couldn't hold on to the ball that came in from the left-hand side was what we deserved, really. I thought we deserved more, particularly as I'd had a bet on 7-0.
Oh, optimistic there, Dave.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Kris, Dave mentioned there the point in the game where it really turned, and for me it should be the 69th minute when Iwobi and Welbeck came on. Just in what way did they affect the game? And in your way, explain how they opened up chances.
Yeah, I suppose that some of it comes down to the standard fresh legs, but I think it's your complete change in style of players. That's the big thing with Olivier Giroud. Obviously, you know what you're going to get with regards to the physicality, the sort of hold up play, the ability to sort of take first time finishes, clip ins, and the game that we play you'd think anyway, it not always is, but you'd think would be aimed more at crossing the ball in and trying to hit feet for him from a distance, whereas Welbeck gives you that option. Not only that he runs in behind, but he also gives you the option that frees up others. And what I mean by that is obviously if he drifts wide, Alexis tends to drift inside and Mesut drifts around further forward if Danny Welbeck comes deep and runs with the ball. And similarly with Aaron Ramsey, obviously his game is all about is that box to box element and sort of manipulating the ball and having that opportunity to burst onto things. Iwobi's very much a possession based player who really has a bit of a penchant for the extravagant sometimes. Sometimes it can be his downfall, but he likes to try things. He's very expressive on the ball. And I was actually really impressed with him in a central role. We've seen glimpses of it when Mesut Ozil was injured earlier on the season, or injured in inverted commas. He was given that number 10 role, and I think that's a role that Arsene Wenger would quite like to use him in long term. I think he likes his trickery, he likes his unpredictability, and that's something that really impressed me when Iwobi come on. And it just changed the style of play. There was a lot of space, it has to be said, at that stage of the game. Sunderland were tiring, and those gaps were opening up. I think there's also got to be a question mark over Sunderland's application. If anyone that saw them on Saturday will know how terrible they were in that game, and they were similar for patches of this game, although there was a bit more fight about them. They posed a bit of a threat, but particularly that midfield area, we were pretty dominant. And I think Mesut, was it a record-breaking, 12 chances he created in a game? I think I read somewhere. That gives you an idea of how much space he floated into. But yeah, Welbeck and Iwobi are great options, and Iwobi's taken a lot of very unnecessary stick this season, like we touched on earlier on with the holding thing. Sometimes, as David said, you can big up a player too much, and then when they do drop below the standards you've seen them set, you sort of forget how young these players are and just where they've come from. And Iwobi was, let's not forget, basically a youth player last season before he got his chance, and he
Chris,
Mm.
did take it. Sorry to cut in here. Just a quick question. If you're playing for the first team, you have to deliver first team standards. It doesn't matter how young you are. And unfortunately for Alex Iwobi, he hit the ground running in the season and he dropped off. Now, I think Arsene Wenger's got a lot to blame for that. But, if he's wearing that shirt exactly the same as we'll give stick to Mesut Ozil and to Alexis Sanchez and to everybody else, you're in the firing line and you've got to deliver.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. And I think Arsene Wenger's got a lot to answer to as far as continuing to play him through that bad patch when he probably should have taken him out of the team, and then he should be given equally the credit to see that he needed to be taken out of the team, and he has done that in recent weeks. And I think it's the first time we've seen Iwobi even come off the bench for several weeks that I can remember. I can't remember him playing any minutes recently, but he kept him in and about the squad on the bench, so he was still involved. And he strikes me as a bubbly character, and a sort of guy that knows his roots. Some of his Snapchats are a little bit questionable, but he's a young lad and I'm old, so I'll accept that. But he's a good level player, and I think again, as another pod I was listening to recently this week, I think we're saying the same, that you don't want to have a player like that out on loan. You want to play like that in your squad. You want a player like that who's young, can come on and can influence a game. But maybe you want a slightly higher level caliber player who's going to start games, and then he's a good backup. But him and Welbeck both come on, both made a good sort of introduction to the game, and they are both players that can influence a game. And don't forget, we're playing for a cup final place, and I'd be very happy to know that we've got two players like that who, if they are substitutes, can come on and potentially change a game for the better.
He's missed 8 games, by the way, Premier League games, all been on the bench.
There you go. Yep.
Right. Another player I wanted to talk about, Alexis Sanchez. The man has just been breaking records left, right, and centre this week. I've got here. Sanchez has been directly involved in 33 league goals this season, more than any other player in the league. Against Stoke, Sanchez became the 8th player to score 50 Premier League goals for Arsenal, with only Thierry Henry 83 games and Ian Wright 87 reaching the milestone faster than the Chilean. And Sanchez is also the first player to record double figures for both goals, 21 and 10 assists in the Premier League this season. So with that said, Danny, what do we have to do to keep Alexis Sanchez? Because surely we need this man at our club.
Well, the scum are having a cheese room. I think we need a poodle parlour so we can, them and the other players can bring their dogs, leave them at the stadium and have people pamper them and cut their hair and blow dry them and all that other nonsense people do to bloody grown animals. Whatever it takes, that bloke is for me. I'd say in Premier League history, he's one of our top 5 or 6 best attacking players quite easily. I mean, he's up there with the likes of Henry and Bergkamp and Perez and Ljungberg on his day, and there's going to be others I'm forgetting, but I think he is that good. Plus, he's playing in a team that has been struggling. Imagine him playing in a team that would be flowing, full of confidence and playing magnificently. There's been so many players in the last 2 games, like I said, Ozil has been playing really well, and Holding, he's played 8 Premier League games this season. He's played 90 minutes in all of them. In those 8 games, we've had 4 clean sheets. We've won 6, drew 1, and we lost the pre-season friendly that was a Premier League game, first game of the season. It was just a complete clusterfuck. Lost 4-3 to Liverpool, so that was almost like a pre-season. So it's been magnificent, and Sanchez has been magnificent as well. And it's just amazing to me that people do. I mean, I criticise certain things, and the next week I changed my mind a little bit, like I moaned at Wenger for constantly playing Iwobi, and then he left him on the bench. He played him as a sub twice, then didn't play him for 8 games, and now he's brought him back on as a sub, which is, I think, the right thing to do. And it seems that everything's clicking at the right time. But just to look at his stats, he's for Sanchez, 37 Premier League games, 23 goals, 11 assists. Champions League, 8 games, 3 goals, 5 assists. And the FA Cup, 4 games, 2 goals and 3 assists. Yeah, make sure I got that right way round. And he's only had 8 yellow cards across all competitions all season. It's just been absolutely amazing. And I always try to classify a player in 2 ways. How many other Premier League clubs would he fit into? I think he'd be the starting 11 in every single Premier League club. And what is the one player that when you remember when Henry didn't play, we'd think, oh God, we're going to get fucked over. Or Vieira didn't play, we'd think, oh, we're in trouble now. I think when other teams look at our lineup and they see Sanchez in the lineup, they think, oh dear. And that is, I mean, that's straight away you've got a head start, because you know that they're worried about that player, because he's just absolutely magnificent and constantly playing. And even wanted to play in the FA Cup games. And it just shows how committed he is to the game. I don't think he's aiming for the targets like some players go, I've got to play, I've got to take all the penalties, I've got to get all the goals. I think he just genuinely loves playing and loves being a part of it. So much so, which is why sometimes you'll find him playing sweeper, picking the ball up and running down the other end and trying to have a shot on goal. He's just absolutely magnificent. We have to do everything to keep him. I don't care how much money it takes. It's not our money. I don't pay our money. So if we're paying him $300,000 a week, just bloody give it to him. Because imagine him at the club, and if him and Ozil can continue the form they've had in the last few games, albeit against shoddy teams, and come the FA Cup final is going to be the real test, because they've only got one more game, Everton, on Sunday, and that's going to be that's going to be hopefully an end of season game where it'll end 6-6, and he'll get all 6 assists. He'll assist himself for all 6. He's just absolutely magnificent. He's a dream to watch as well. And he's for Chile, 108 games, 37 goals. So he does it for Chile as well as these for us. For these, we're on about these.
Is there anyone else that wants to come on in this? David, you said a couple of weeks back, I remember, that you thought he might possibly leave. Now, we had Jeff on the show last week who thinks that Alexis Sanchez might possibly stay. Have you recalculated it at all? We know you're a man with many fingers in many pies, and you might have heard the odd cheeky whisper.
No, I honestly haven't. It was just a gut feel of mine, and it remains my gut feel. There's too much talk going around of him talking to other clubs. But I think he's trying to put himself in the best light for us. If he goes, and we have an opportunity then maybe to spend big money on a replacement, because we'll need to. As Danny said, he's kind of the heartbeat of the side, and we'll need to replace him. There's maybe not too many like for like that are available out there, but there may be 1 or 2 top quality strikers available. We should be in the market for whoever's free there. But there was one other point I wanted to make about the other night, and sorry to drag you away from Alexis, but we were saying about how the goals came after the substitutions. after the substitutions, we went back to a 4-2-3-1. And I do hope that doesn't put into Arsene Wenger's mind the thought of reverting to it for either Everton or Chelsea, because I think the success that we've had for the last 5 matches is entirely down to them settling into that back three and making us a little bit more solid defensively. Now I've taken us off course, I'll disappear and shut up again.
No.
Great point, though.
Yeah,
Great
it's
point.
a great point.
Yeah.
Chris, would you like to discuss it?
Well, I just one small bit on Alexis and one bit on David's point. On David's point, he's bang on, because how many years, months, decades, however long it's been, have we said Arsene Wenger's only got one plan? I don't have any issue whatsoever with us starting one system and changing it mid-game. I mean, all of the best coaches in European football, world football, all have that ability to be able to change a game, and you want to keep the opposition guessing. I'm sure at times, even a club as good as Chelsea have been this season, and as much as it absolutely rankles with me to say it, they've been good to watch. They're not just a functional defensive unit. There's a big difference between them and Maureen's lot. They are good to watch at times. Even they have had games where they've sat in and gone, you know what, we've got our goal, we'll have 5 at the back now, or we'll go 4 at the back and bring Matic in with Kante and stick 2 in front. It's nice that you've got the option, and completely agree with David. The players have been almost liberated in trying a different system, and I completely hold my hands up. I thought, and I still think, 3 at the back is a little bit of a phase. We all, English football as a whole goes through these phases of, what's the new big thing? They're doing 3 at the back in Italy, let's try that. But it does suit our players, and it does suit the system we employ, and particularly with the wing backs. And we might touch on Kolasinac if he signs. He's a perfect left back for that system, as is Bellerin, right back. So yeah, I'm with David on that one. And just very briefly on Alexis, again, obviously I certainly don't have any contacts with Arsenal, but as you know, I have my finger in a few pies with regards to French football. Paris Saint-Germain have talked to Alexis Sanchez's people at least twice. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he will end up at PSG. It doesn't necessarily mean that he will end up leaving Arsenal, but there's real interest there. And with there's a lot of money obviously already in Paris, and the fact that Monaco clinched the Ligue 1 Championship last night, and the fact that PSG were so spectacularly... Shut up. So spectacularly bundled out of the Champions League by Barcelona when nobody thought it was even possible. The owner at PSG, very much as good as he is as an owner and pumps the money into the club, he also treats PSG as a vanity project, as his toy. And if his toy isn't winning championships, he will go and change a lot of those players. And that I could see a situation where he could just say to Arsenal, name your price. And the trouble is with Arsenal, as we all know, we do tend to sort of say, okay, players in his last year of a contract, if there's big money on the table, we'll take it. And that's my worry. It's not just losing a player of Alexis's standards, but it's losing a player of his standards and not replacing him. And that's the problem. I'm not sure you could go out and replace Alexis. You'd have to go out and buy a player who arguably would take you on even another higher level. And I think there's probably only, if we assume Alexis is a forward, which he is, I mean, for me, there's only 3, maybe 4 at a push centre forwards in Europe right now that you could spend big money on that would actually improve or take us on another level than Alexis has given us. And probably 3 out of those 4 are not available. So it's a statement as much as anything else to keep him, and I would not be at all surprised to see him in Paris next year.
Well, that's miserable then.
Sorry.
We should. No, that's all right. We should talk about another player.
Can I quickly come in on that? Regarding the system, if Arsene Wenger is going to revert back to the 4-2-3-1, we're going to get overrun in midfield again. The great thing that the 3 at the back has given us, the wing backs have helped the midfield out. They've given them options, and it's taken the pressure off them. Okay, Mesut and Alexis need to work out how to link up with the men up top a bit, more efficiently, because they haven't done that in certain games. I know it was great on Tuesday night and Saturday, but those teams are done. They applied no pressure. They didn't press us at all. Okay, but giving support to the midfield has given us more confidence as a unit, as a team. and it's helped us solidify at the back with having the three, especially the emergence of Holding as a competent ball playing centre back. But it's taken the pressure of Xhaka and Ramsey or Coughlin as it was on Saturday and allowed us to play. Now, when we come up against a team who are going to press us and put pressure on that midfield, if we're reverting back to 4 at the back, we're going to crumble again. We really are. Let's not make any mistakes by not thinking that Stoke and Sunderland were beaten before they went on the pitch for those 2 games. They were dog shit on the day. It kind of reminded me of the Chelsea game earlier on in the season. Oh, yeah, we beat Chelsea 3-0. Chelsea were awful against us. Awful. But when we come up with teams who are playing for something, it's going to be a different story. So we need to be on our game, and we've got to stick with the system now. I think, next season's a different kettle of fish. It may be a new manager. It may be a few different players. We don't know. But we have 2 games to go, and one of them is for silverware. So, if Arsene Wenger, reverts back to thinking that 4 at the back is the way forward for us, more fool him. Because the midfield will get swamped again, like it's been all season at times. We have leaked goals through just having the 2 in the midfield because teams know what we're doing. And that's all I'm going to say.
No, that's fair enough. Jace, we'll stick with you. A player that might possibly be in our goal next season, Jordan Pickford. He's been strongly linked with a move to Arsenal. So what were your thoughts on him now we got a first glance?
But Collins has been talking about him for a while. And he really rates him. And to be fair to Simon, when he talks, you've got to take him seriously. He knows his game and he knows players. He does this for a living. He's not a wannabe. He's an actual journalist who speaks with utter knowledge and confidence in what he's doing because he's been through the process of becoming a journalist in the right way. I've not seen enough of Jordan Pickford personally. He had a hell of a game against us on Tuesday night. He was superb. But in all fairness, okay, a lot of keepers come to our place and perform like Manuel Neuer. So, we can take that let's take that out of the picture and see how he's done all season. He's played for a team who have been awful all year. They've leaked goals. So therefore, the goalkeeper does tend to look better. He's got more saves to make. Do you know what I mean? It's like against Tottenham, Peter Cech was our man of the match because, he saved so many shots. So we have to take that into context. The real test for him is if you're bored for 80 minutes and then, you've got a screamer to save. I don't really know, but, apparently he's a real talent. I like Butland at Stoke personally, but for the option for me at the moment, I would prefer Chesney back because if he has sorted himself out and he's grown up a bit, he's a hell of a talent, and he's grown up at Arsenal, and I'd like to see him come back and show us all his true worth.
Yes, definitely.
Jason's bang on there, by the way. Bang on. That's absolutely 100% agree with that. The one thing Pickford has got is his distribution is fantastic as a goalkeeper. I mean, I think that's why I could probably actually see him ending up with Man City, to be honest, because obviously the one thing Pep Guardiola likes is boring the pan. Oh no, sorry, is a goalkeeper with distribution. And I don't know if you saw the one thing Pickford does brilliantly is the side-on volley, where he sort of releases it from his hands. And I think Kasper Schmeichel's another one who does it very well, where they launch a low, flat trajectory ball. And it's not a long ball, it's a designed pass, but it's out from the hands. And he's very, very good at that. And I could probably see Man City going for him. The only thing that might put Pep off is obviously the Joe Hart experiment of English goalkeepers didn't really work out very well. But they're going to be in the market for a goalkeeper. And as Arsenal fans, we know how hard it's been, Sebastian Frey, to get a goalkeeper, over the line for so many years. Mark Schwartz is another one we pursued for years and didn't get. There's not that many really top-notch keepers out there, and certainly not at a price that's affordable. If you look at Donnarumma, for example, is going to cost 50, 60 odd million. He's a 17-year-old. It's ridiculous what you'll pay, and we all know goalkeepers mature as they get older. So I think Jace is bang on. If you're gonna take quote unquote a risk, I'd rather we give Szczesny the opportunity that maybe he hasn't earned, but maybe slightly deserves if you're going to do that. And this is all, of course, assuming that Petr Cech isn't our number one, because realistically he probably will be. But it's good to know we're in the market for a keeper who's of that caliber. But Butland is a similar vintage. But yeah, I mean, Pickford's been impressive, but like Jay says, it's hard to judge one season in a club for a club where basically he's held them together at times. And it's hard to judge. Could he handle the pressure, for example, of being at a top caliber club? We might find out, but I'm not sure it will be at Arsenal, to be honest. I don't think it will be.
Right then, there's just a few more things to do before we go on to some listener questions. I want just a simple yes or no from all of you if you think we can still make the Champions League. Danny?
Not a chance.
Well, technically that wasn't one word. But David?
Small yes.
Small yes. Kris?
Absolutely.
And finally, Jace?
Yes.
Wonderful stuff. And all of your thoughts we did discuss on
How
Twitter.
about you? You
no.
deluded?
No, I don't. They won't.
No, of course they fucking won't.
No, of course it is. I know this is Arsenal, and we've had some good end of season days, but I think this one is just a little bit of a stretch.
I'd love to hear Anfield if they're 1-0 down with 20 minutes to go. I would like that.
They did say that there was going to be a huge conspiracy that maybe if Everton did know that Liverpool were down, and it was
good point.
They'd chuck it for us.
Never thought of that. Is Danny? Danny, have you got the lasagna ready? Is it boxed up, ready to go up to Liverpool this weekend?
It's currently in the garden, in the sun, cooking. It's been there for 5 days.
Good, and it obviously passed through you at a suitable rate of knots to make it.
Oh, didn't touch the sides.
Splendid.
Oh, boys.
Awesome. And your thoughts on the podcast day possibly being changed? Me and Danny have had a little bit of a chat on Twitter. And,
did it all over Twitter rather than just on WhatsApp like we should have done.
Yeah,
it was nice everyone else got involved, which is good.
And I think they were leaning to either a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
Well, then I thought, why don't we just do it on a Thursday as normal? And when we have the cup games, because sometimes they're going to be played in Eastern Europe, because we're not going to get anything easy, are we? Like in France or Scotland or Ireland, they're going to be 3 o'clock kickoffs. We still can do it on a Thursday. So I mean, it's only going to be a few games, isn't it? So still do it on a Thursday.
Not going to be 3 o'clock kickoffs, you tit.
There are some 3 o'clock kickoffs when you play Far Eastern.
Very rarely during the midweek. It's more likely to be. There's 2 time slots, isn't there? Like is it 6, 7 o'clock kickoffs and 8:30 normally, isn't it? Europa League, I think.
I don't watch it.
No, there's a lot at 5 o'clock. I know that.
5 o'clock. That's it. That's the one. Yeah, David's right. Yeah, 5 o'clock and then 8 o'clock or something. Yeah.
But the only problem with that, Danny, is that we'll want a radio show.
Good point.
God, yeah.
Good point. See, you didn't think about this, did you?
No. I don't think about. They've scored again. It's 4.
I know I'm the brains of the outfit.
Answers on a postcard. What day would you most like to see us record?
We don't have to do it on the same day every week.
We could rotate it, couldn't we? We could tease our listeners and just drop one when we least expect it.
Well, from the end of November until February, there are no European games. So all of those ones we could do on a Thursday. I think if we're playing that week, do it on a different day.
So
we're not playing that. We're not doing that week.
We could do what Arsenal are going to do. We could rotate our starting lineup each week, and we could play the reserves on the podcast whenever we're on Europa League. So we can sort of like dig out like the people your standard second class podcasters like your John Welshes of this world. We could just sort of wheel them out.
John Welsh hosting this one.
Yeah.
Do we go straight into the group stage, or do we have to pre-qualify or qualify?
straight in, yeah.
So 6 games straight away.
Because of the FA Cup final, I think, because Chelsea obviously in the Champions League, we automatically go into the group stages, so which is good because you don't want to be qualifying in bloody early June, do you? Like West Ham.
We could be out to Shelbourne in the first round, and we won't have to worry about it.
We could be. I don't think it's likely, but you never know.
Hopefully.
Do you know what? The Europa Cup would be, although I want us to be in the Champions League, it really could be a good development opportunity for some of the younger players.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Especially in the early rounds, if you're playing, Carrier Bag FC and Sporting KFC or whatever. Yeah,
It's a chance for the Aworbis of this world to really show what they're made of, to gain really good experience. You could try, if you're playing 4 at the back, you could try Chambers and Holding as those centre halves to see as a developing unit. Bielik, all these guys.
You wouldn't have to send them all out on loan either, would you? You could keep a few of these young players and actually give them some games and see how they develop rather than sending them off to a club they just never play for.
Well, back in the day, I used to look forward to the European stuff because you'd be playing different teams all the time. But now the Champions League has got so boring because it's just the same teams all the time. So as for playing different teams, but as for playing different teams, I'm quite looking forward to that. I think that'll be fun playing loads of different teams.
Dom was right there. I mean, to be fair, it's rare that Dom isn't right, but he was very right on the radio show, as was Mr. Shredder. On where's it Saturday we did a show. They both took a bit of stick for it in the chat room, but they were right. People saying, "Oh well, Champions League's boring," and I get why it's boring, but it's not about us as fans. It's about what players and prospective players that we're looking to sign. Look at and there is a natural stigma. The reason Manchester United is still able to sign Paul Pogba was because they're Manchester United. And I know people say, well, we're the Arsenal. Yeah, I agree. But Manchester United were able to shell out, was it 40 odd million just to Paul Pogba's agent, for Christ's sake. We're never going to do that. So it's not the fact that we aren't going to attract players. We'll always attract players, of course. But if a player's got an option on the table of, for example, Chelsea or Man City or Arsenal, the likelihood is they're going to go to the others because of the Champions League football. So, like Jay says, if we can develop our own in that competition, but still have a strong enough team to put out each week, then, you want to try and win every competition. Nobody's a real fan of it. And it's like Dom said, it's the mentality of how we're looked at in Europe. If you're a Europa League side, you are looked at as second tier. That's just sadly the way it is. And if we want to progress, we have to be at the elite table.
You look at it, okay, right? Back in the day, it was 2, maybe 3 clubs from each league going through the Champions League. Yep. Okay, so the UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup were solid trophies back then. Now it's 4 from all the big leagues. Okay. All the big clubs that you want to be testing yourself against are in the Champions League. So as much as it has got boring for us as fans, and I think it's it is an argument where, it's the same old story year after year. That's why I'm sick of it. That's why I think, it's time for Arsene to go. It's too many times now. Though the big clubs you only play against are in the Champions League. They're not in the Europa Cup.
Well, Man United, to get to the final, have played 15 games. They played their first UEFA Cup game in September. And, they've played some pretty big teams. They've played Fenerbahce. They played Feyenoord. What other ones are there? Anderlecht are pretty Celta Vigo, so they've played. They're not
That's not Juventus.
But they're not. No.
Yeah, but then we beat those. We wouldn't lose like we lose to the rest.
Ask the Milan clubs, Danny. You see how hard it is. They've got a lot of money this summer. You ask how hard it's going to be for them. They're craving. They're not deemed as big clubs in Italy. Now, ask John. They're not deemed as the big Milan clubs anymore because they're not in the Champions League, and it's the same with any club that drops out. You can afford to be away for a year, maybe 2. But you can't do what Liverpool have done, for example, and be out for, 5-6 years. When you drop out, it's so hard. This is why the achievement Arsenal has achieved, it's not a trophy. We all know that. But this 4th place finish, this is why it's such a big achievement, because he has consistently delivered that top 4 finish, because it is a huge achievement to be in it. And if you're not in it, it's bloody hard to get back in. And it's only going to get harder with the money they spend in the summer.
And you got Pep and Klopp both saying top 4 is like a trophy.
Yeah, and then you've got Mourinho going back on his own words, saying, "Well, we're Manchester United. It's all about trophies." It's funny. He wasn't saying that a couple of fucking years ago, was he?
Didn't he say the Europa League was a waste of time or something like that?
And he can't help but drop Arsenal into the, because he was talking about Arsenal when he said, "Oh, some clubs celebrate fourth like it is a trophy. We at Manchester United aim higher than that." It's blatantly about Arsenal.
Can you imagine if they lose that final?
Oh, I'd piss myself, Jace. I would, honestly. I will be Ajax till I die on Wednesday night. It would be hilarious.
Right then, all that's left for this part is your Arsenal rating this week out of 10. So, Danny.
For the just for this week, I'm going to have to give it a 9. It's been brilliant. Beat two teams we have historically struggled against. Sanchez and Ozil have been brilliant. Big Bob Holding hasn't fucked around. Yeah, can't really. Maybe if we'd have got 7 or 8 against Sunderland like David wanted, if we'd have got 7-0 like David wanted, I'd have given it a 10.
David?
9.5. Pretty much word for word what Danny said. But apart from the bit about Sunderland at home being a bogey side for us, they haven't beaten us since, was it 1983?
Oh, God, no. What did I say? Of course they're not. They're shit. I was just thinking Stoke.
They do not travel to us well.
I was thinking Stoke and Southampton. It wasn't, was it? It's Stoke and Sunderland.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to shut up.
Best.
Mighty Sunderland.
Sorry. I'm not quite as excited as the boys. I thought we did the job we should have done. 7.
Oh, Welsh justice. Kris?
Similar to Jace, solid 8 for me. Yes, we've been good, but we have beaten two sides that really we should be beating given the form we are now in as opposed to previously. So, yeah, solid 8, room for improvement, but I'm happy.
Oh, that's the pirate verdict. And I'm going for a 9.3. I'm with David and Danny this week. They haven't done a lot that's pissed me off. Mesut and Sanchez have been fantastic. 2 wins. Lovely stuff. Danny, some listener questions. We have about 10 minutes. That's not good.
Well, just don't ask any to Jason or Kris.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. We'll proceed.
5.
Proceed.
Right, first one. Brief. After we had a statement from the FA, they've tweeted, "We're committed to cleaning up the game. From 2017-18, players who successfully, I still haven't got my tooth in, hold on, successfully deceive officials will be punished." Now, someone, Steve, who we're all familiar with, says, "Can someone mention the FA ban for divers after matches if it's missed by the refs? 1, they still keep the points from the penalties. 2, the Spuds would be 12th and Manx would be 15th if we had that rule this season." David, have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I'd only warn against whatever the system is going to be, that they are doing it clearly on very, very easily identifiable incidents if they're going to use video to do it. But Steve's got a point there. If you're not going to, you can't really change the results after the event. But yeah, it still will not have any impact on the way that the course of matches is changed, until, of course, if it is successful, players will stop doing it, and therefore matches won't be influenced like it. I suppose that would be the argument.
Okay, everyone's going to get one question each, apart from this next one. From our mate Chaz, who is Chaz Nuki Burden, not Chaz Nuki Brown, as I honestly thought he was called. Everyone can answer this. He says, which politician, past or present, would you most like to manage the Arsenal? He didn't say whether they had to be British politicians. So while you lot are thinking, I think I'm going to go for a Pol Pot, because we'd have a lot. He couldn't put up with any of the shit from any of those players, and we'd have a massive transfer budget. We'd have to keep buying new players because half the squad will have been got rid of. Now that's actually no. I'm going to change it from him to, who was the other one who's killed the most amount of people ever? The a third of all humans are related to him.
Oh, Genghis
Khan. That's who I'm going for. A little bit worse than Pol Pot. Genghis Khan. That's who I'm going to go for.
He was a winner, wasn't he?
He was a winner. He didn't fuck around. He ran. He occupied most of the world. Jace, while you've piped up, who would you have?
Oh, charming.
Augustus Caesar.
No.
Would you have that Welsh woman who's in charge of the Welsh party at the moment?
No, not a fucking chance. Augustus. the Emperor Augustus.
Oh, the one who is named after August.
No, I think August is named after him.
That's what I said. That's what I meant. He put August in because Julius Caesar put July in.
He's the one who, he's Caesar's stepson. He followed him. He brought Rome together. He went out there. He conquered. He got shit done. And he was loved by the people. And he was a winner.
Do you know it's his fault why February only has 28 days? Because he stole a couple of days so he'd have the same number of days.
He's Emperor of Rome. He could do what the hell he wanted to.
He can. Much like you, Jace. Much like you.
I wish.
If you decided you want a new month,
if Dave can provide what I asked him for earlier on, you never know.
Oh, lovely. Chris, I know your political mind is second to none. Can you think of a single politician?
Well,
or colour, or fruit, or a flower, or a fish?
I was just going to say, Chaz, I love you, my friend. I'm a big fan of you and your work. But frankly, politics, there's nothing that bores me more than talk of politics. I don't care.
Amen. Chris, I'm with you.
I have no interest. As long as I got a roof over my head and enough microwavable meals to survive the nuclear holocaust, I'm all good. So, and as long as the cats are all right, I don't care. The last politician I could probably name you as Paddy Ashdown because he had a funny name. I know nothing about politics. I don't care.
We'd like to apologise to anybody called Paddy.
You've known about European strikers as well, pal.
And unless it's the Arsenal party, I couldn't give a toss. So they're all corrupt, they're all bent. They all tell you what you want to hear until they get voted in. They change their mind. So fuck them all.
Gimli?
Was there any that wanted to legalise weed ever?
Yeah, the Lib Dems do.
Oh yeah, we'll go Lib Dems then.
Tim Farron for you then.
They sound all right.
Lovely. As long as you thought about it.
Happy days.
I'm glad no one said that Robinson bloke. I only say that because that's the next question from Josh.
Tommy Robinson.
David.
That's it.
What about David?
Tony Robinson.
David answered, didn't he?
No.
Oh, fuck it, David.
Oh, don't land me in it as well.
No, you're the one. You're the wise one. You're going to have some really good point to make here.
No, not really. But I'm going to make myself sound like a supporter of a party that I'm not, because I think I'd go with Churchill, because there was a winner in battle situations as well, and an inspirational leader.
Not in Gallipoli, pal.
Eh?
Not in Gallipoli.
No,
He didn't single-handedly do that, did he? I blame Dom.
He organised it, pal.
Organised it. He pointed to a big bloody map with a wooden stick and pushed a load of Australian soldiers onto it and went, that'll do. Now, that's an Australian accent. That's what they said. Yes, go and who is it? The bloke who played Spartacus, Gladiator. He's just done a film about Gallipoli.
Jason Donovan.
That's the one. No. The one who owns the Rapidos. Yeah, I know, Dom. I know you know who it is.
Crow.
Jason Crow. No, he's a former Arsenal player.
Russell Crowe. He has just done a film about Gallipoli where he goes and looks for his two sons. It's a very, very good film, apparently. So if anybody wants to know, it was a terrible situation. Right, that's enough politics from us. Josh Robinson says, who am I going to give this one to? I'm going to give this one to Gimli. If our upturn in fortune simply down to playing one extra man at the back, how stupid is that?
How stupid. Well, to be honest with you, it could be very much like with a manager. I think it could be the simplest of things. I mean, an upturn in fortune, a different formation, a new formation of players. It really can only be the smallest of things. So, yeah, it seems stupid, but, you know, he said, or we've all accused him of not being versatile and not being open to change. And I think he's probably shown us there that he can be versatile and open to change. So, fair play.
Fair enough. Right, this one is going to go to Chris because I know it'll annoy him, and it comes in the bit at the end. Chris, don't be too mean about his comparison. Gooner Charlie George, do you think Perez's AFC career is over after him not being in the squad versus Sunderland, and then surely Perez is better than Gibbs? Easy. He may not know that's not the same thing.
No, I mean,
fuck me, they've scored again.
He's offside.
Thank God for that.
Of course he's offside. It's Vincent Janssen. No, well, I think the first thing quickly to say is I'm not sure about the comparison. Gibbs and Perez are completely different type of players, so I don't think I'll kind of leave that bit off if you don't mind.
The wing back role.
Yeah, but Perez is a forward. He's not. Yeah, I can't really buy that comparison. But anyway, I think Gibbs will probably be moved on in the summer anyway. So that's that one. Contrary to popular belief, I don't hate Lucas Perez at all. I never have. I just don't think that he's a player that would be. He was clearly not the choice of Arsene Wenger. He clearly wanted the chav from Leicester. And I just think there were better players. I'd rather just keep the money than spend it on a player that we're never going to play. I don't mind us spending small amounts, or what was he, 12, 14 million, something like that. I don't mind us spending that money if we're actually going to give him a chance. But there's a whole long list of them: Joel Campbell, Park Chu-young. I mean, you go back even as far as Fabian Caballero. Most people won't remember him. Caballero, although he was just bloody unlucky, could hit everything but the goal.
The post and the bar,
didn't he? Bless him. So I mean, I just think that. I think even Adebayor was a signing who was sort of meant as a bit of a make weight, but he just turned out to be quite good. So, I don't dislike Lucas Perez. I just think that he was at Deportivo La Coruña for so many years for a reason. And he's he was linked with Everton and West Brom. And I think that that's more his level. Not knocking him as what he's done at Arsenal. He's put his foot in, and he's a spiteful bugger, and he tries hard, and he's been very good, and he's got a wonderful touch on him. He's a good little player. But I just think if we're going to be, like Jay said earlier, Champions League and elite club, I think you could have spent that money better or kept it so that you've got the money to spend it on a higher caliber player in the future. So to answer the guy's question, no, I don't think he has a future, and clearly Arsene doesn't fancy him. So au revoir, I'm afraid. I think he will be off in the summer.
I've just had Speckled Jim come flying through the cat flap with a handwritten note from a Mr. Jason Davis. What are your thoughts on Coquelin going to Valencia?
Oh. I knew this would come up at some point. I knew this would... I don't know if you saw my tweet earlier on, Daniel.
I think the entire world saw it.
Hold up, yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that?
That's all I got to say is this, okay? If you're going to bring in a good holding DM, who's really going to take us forward, it'll be brilliant, okay?
Agreed, yeah.
I'm a bit concerned that Mike Bassett has taken over at Valencia. Because I can't understand why anybody would want him. I really can't. I just look at him and I just think, oh, mate, you just keep on falling over. He fell over on them. Was it against Stoke? He fell over. I thought, oh, he's injured himself falling over. I can't believe it. But it would be nice to. I think he's one of those players we need a massive upgrade on. I think.
I had to say. I had the first 10 minutes of one of the games on the radio. I didn't quite manage to get home for it. And other commentators said, Coquelin's just fallen over. And I thought of you, Jace. Made me laugh.
He keeps on doing it, doesn't he?
It's a running gag, isn't it, between you and I, Jace? And don't get me wrong. I'm not so stupid into thinking that, big Frankie Coquelin is a world-class holding midfielder. He's not. He's clearly not. I think he's underappreciated.
Let's be fair, okay? He was not pulling up trees at Charlton.
No, agreed.
They were happy for him to go, okay? But he came to us, he applied himself, he played with discipline, and he earned himself a chance for the following season.
Did a good job, didn't he?
We knew he was limited, okay? What's really sort of driven me to distraction and is the biggest reason for me changing my, going from wanting Arsene Wenger to leave, is this thought that he could play Coquelin further up the pitch, where, when the pitch is shorter, Coquelin's more effective because, he's safer with the angles. It's all down to the angles there. And he would cut out he would intercept more than he would tackle. Okay, his tackling's been exposed this season for what it is, not good enough. To get bumped off the ball by Eden Hazard and that was laughable. But Coquelin deserves respect for the way he came in and applied himself. He's not a good footballer. Okay, he's not an Arsenal standard footballer and not what we need to push forward. I'd be happy to see him go to Valencia and enjoy himself off there. But I really would like him out and us to bring in a real upgrade. There's the boy Bakayoko that you mentioned in the group at Monaco. Let's get one of these guys in. Let's really solidify that midfield and make it competitive.
Don't carpenter it, Chase. For fuck's sake, we need to move on.
And very, very briefly, I'm not disagreeing with what Jay says. I think he makes some good points. I'm not saying, as I said, that Coquelin is the answer to all our prayers. And some people listening to this would say, well, hang on, you just said Lucas Perez isn't Arsenal quality. How is Coquelin? And I get that for different positions. I think he can play higher up the pitch, but not as high as he did. I think he only can play higher up the pitch if you deploy him like we did at Stoke, where you've got the three at the back and you've got Xhaka sitting deep, and you just say to him, just patrol the centre circle, get involved if the chance arises, but just patrol. He did that very well on Saturday, and that proves.
But then you need teams not to compete. And
that's agreed. And that's my only sort of issue with it, as I tweeted earlier on, Danny, is just I was saying those people that are just saying good riddance and he's dreadful and all that. They're the same people that if we sell him, we don't replace him, we'll say we haven't got squad depth. So if
but that's a managerial issue. That's a managerial issue.
Oh, geez,
yeah, I mean
6-1.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying it's a good job. It means something, though, isn't it? They applied the pressure brilliantly this season, twats. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. If you can bring in a player who's an upgrade, then of course, then you look at the options to move some players on. I'd rather keep him as a squad player. People forget he can play 3 different positions as well. He's a good cover at right back. And as for a replacement, if you can give me Jean-Michel Seri at Nice, then that's fine. Then
I'd rather Jean-Michel Jarre.
Hey, he wrote a good theme tune to France '98, didn't he?
He did. Right, Gimli, cock in or cock out?
Cock out, must do better.
Oh, David, as you're a gentleman, Coquelin in or Coquelin out?
I'm pretty much singing Chris's tune here. I'd keep him as a squad player, but yeah, by all means, upgrade.
Okay, I agree with you there. Right, while I've got you, a 2-part question from 2 people. Wolfgang says, I'll read both parts. Wolfgang, what are your thoughts on realistic transfer targets if no Champions League next season? Also, how big a budget do you think we'll have? And that is followed up by Hayden on a similar line. Hayden is always a bit of a cheeky monkey. He says, we all saw the players Chelsea and Man United signed last summer without Champions League football. Do you think we can also attract top players? Make of that what you will, David.
Yeah, I think we can. Don't ask me to speculate on who, though, because I think people know by now that's not something I'm particularly keen on, although I must admit I'm quite warm to the idea of Mbappe coming, and even if it takes all of the transfer budget to get him. The AST, by the way, talking about how much we have, they have calculated that we've got something like £90 million to spend, plus whatever we bring in. Now, of course, that could be considerable given the players who have yet to sign extensions to their contract and have only a year left. So we could have 2 very big chunks of money coming in to add to that 90 million.
Lovely. There you go. That's a good answer. Right, quick one for everybody from Mr. Arsenal 93. Which Arsenal player manager employee deserves a statue outside of the stadium? Gimli, who would you have?
Wait. What player?
Anyone to do with Arsenal?
Do you know what?
And you got a not. Someone told you off last time because when you said the new sponsorship for the stadium, you didn't have an answer. That's because you were probably stoned and watching TV when I asked the question.
To be honest with you, I'm stoned now. Come back to me.
Okay. Jason, what's your thoughts?
I'd like Arsene Wenger to leave and put a statue of him outside.
So in other words, he'd still be there.
No.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, but get your Allegri in and put a statue of Arsene Wenger because he deserves that.
Kris, and you can't have one of yourself?
Oh, I agree with Jason's statue. I think he's got a bust, but I'd like him to have a statue. If not, statue of Francis Coquelin in the position with that block against the Rooney shot would be fantastic.
Or maybe try it with the Hazard tackle.
Oh, no, I think the Man United one was better. He's in more mid-flight. In all seriousness, though, it'd be nice if you could get some sort of the Invincibles, kind of. I don't know how you do the whole team. Or, actually, even better, could we put a statue of Sol Campbell in the new Spurs ground? That would be nice.
And
maybe the naked one as well. That'd be.
Whoever did that thing, the picture of the rainbow over White Hart Lane with who's ringing me on a Thursday?
It was Gav. It was Gav did that.
Oh, you wonderful human. David, who would you have?
I think I'll go along with Jace on that. Let's Arsene walk out with an FA Cup, another FA Cup to his name, a record, and get him put up there. Don't put any more of the Invincibles up there because it's poor old Dennis Bergkamp. He's had that pole up his backside for a couple of years now.
Oh, good. And you know, some of the statues where around the world, big brass statues, it's good luck to rub certain parts of it, and they always get shiny when they're brass. I'd have Vic Ackers with his knackers hanging out, and people go up and rub them for good luck before every game.
So Vic Ackers knackers.
little Vic of the Acres, yeah.
That's it. That's exactly what I'd have.
I would. I've got an answer now.
Cool.
If he wins the FA Cup, I'd like Arsene Wenger. However, if he doesn't and we have to have a statue, I would quite easily have Matt Flam doing that volley against Spurs. Thank you very much.
Or could we, you know, in Star Wars when Han Solo gets put into that carbonite, could we do that for AFTV members? Could we just put them on a wall and just put them? Sorry, I'm not allowed to say that, am I? But I just have. So, oh well.
People start moaning in the comments, but you can do that.
I'm not saying I want to hurt them. I'm just saying just make them quiet for a while.
Why can't we just have a big banner on the side of the stadium that says Mo Hader is a cunt?
I think Darren's on that.
You're the only person who keeps saying that. Right, now, anybody want to ask?
I'm not.
Shush your nonsense. Right. Someone here has been kind enough to tell me his name is Meeheer, me here. So he mentions about there was noise about a pay cut for players if the club fails to qualify for the Champions League 2 to 3 years ago. Does this apply to Arsene Wenger, and does this still apply now? Does anybody know the answer to that?
Surely no and no. Surely.
No. There you go then.
There's no way you're going to reduce the budget if you're trying to attract players, is there? No way.
Jolly good. Michael Russell wants to know: does anybody think we're going to sign a centre back this season with Rob Holding doing well?
Yes,
I think we're going to have to buy cover for Kashani. Got to.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh,
if
Gabriel
probably sure.
Yeah.
But it has to be. But I will go as far as to say I don't want any youngsters. I think we've got that bracket of young defenders sorted. I would like to see someone world class come in.
Do you want a little scoop?
Go on.
Like double scoops. Chip chop chip.
Yeah,
that's why you're so fat.
I was going to say we know you like double scoops.
Is it Virgil?
We have heavily scouted and watched on a number of occasions Toulouse centre back called Christophe Julien, who is he's very young, he's very big, he's a proper big bruising but a ball playing centre half. Arsene's very, very keen. So I don't know if it's
play for.
Chris, before you finish, you should tell people about and I'm going to murder his name, Said Kolasinac or Kolasinac. Yeah, he's I'm really excited by this. I know there's a lot of the there was some dickhead who come out. I don't even want to give him his name. Some Royal Gunner something. I think that's what his name. Anyway, it sent Drew into all kinds of rage because obviously Drew follows the Bundesliga very closely, and this bloke come out and said, "Oh yeah, typical Arsenal signing budget fullbacks for free transfers. We can't attract the big names." Blah blah blah. I was like, "You absolute twat." The guy's class. He's a very, very he's a very forward-thinking left back. He can play left midfield. He's strong. He's decent in the air. He's got a wonder of a left foot. Very, very good passing range. His assists and goals record at Schalke for fullbacks very, very good. So he hasn't cost so many million. Well, neither did Rob Holding, and everyone seems to like him now. So no,
who is this bloke at Toulouse? Julian.
Christophe Julien, yes.
He's got 24 years old, 34 games and 4 goals this season. 4 goals for a team like Toulouse that are shit, but they've only just got promoted, didn't they?
He
spent time in Germany. Huh?
He's got a partner called Issa Diop, who's also attracting Man City's looks, but it seems like Julien's more of the Diop's more of the Kolo Touré, and Julien's more of the
Cos.
Yeah, but he reminds me of Rio Ferdinand in the way he plays.
He likes a goal, doesn't he? Last season with Dijon, the people who make the mustard, he got 9 goals in 34 games, and Toulon this season have only he's got 4 goals for Toulon, and they've to lose, and they have only scored. He's got nearly more than 10% of their goals in the league.
But more importantly, he keeps them out. He's a good, strong, solid, and as I said, he's quick. He's pacey. I want a pacey centre back. I don't want a big lumbering unit. I mean, we've got Per, which is fine, and I love Per to death. But I want to see pace in my back line. So
Right,
Yeah.
one final question. Thanks to Frisco's Discos, we ain't got time for that. One final one we'll give this one to David because it'll mean more to him. Pat Rainsford, who says, when did Sweet Carolina become an Arsenal song? Chelsea play blue is the colour, West Ham the bubbles. Where is good old Arsenal? Do you have an answer for that?
I'm fully in agreement with what's behind the question. I don't know where Sweet Caroline came from. I don't know why we stopped playing good old Arsenal. It's a valid point.
I think Pat may well be of your ilk and your generation because a couple of times he's asked interesting questions about how things should be compared to how they were. So, Gimli, now on to predictions. I think we've only got one game. Everton, Sunday, 4 p.m. kickoff. Don't know if it's on telly, but we have a way around that.
Yes, we certainly do. Thank you, Amazon Fire Stick. Danny, what's your prediction?
I'm going to go. Dom is winning the league by 11 bloody points. Even if we fix it like last season and we give double points for the FA Cup final.
Has he won it?
Oh, he's so far ahead. I'd give it a rundown of the league. Is Dom is on 69 points, Carl 57, me 56, OG 51, Guests 50, Kris 49, Raj 48, Steve 47, David 46, Jeff 44, Grand Dog. Jason and Simon on 41, Shredder and John 39, 538, Listeners 37, Kate 36, Gimli 35.
41.
Whoa, no. I got scorer and score this week. I've got to be on at least 38, something like that.
You got 2 points for that, but you
2
haven't
points.
bothered much.
Two fucking points. I thought that was 5 points.
5 points is if you get the right score and the right scorer.
I did.
You said 3-0, not 2-0.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, you.
I thought I got 2 points for 4-1.
You got Jason. You got 1 point because we won. You said 4-0 Ramsey.
I said 4-1.
I'm not. See, there's the reason that I'm bottom.
Jason, it was 2-0. How does 4-1 get you more points than 4-0?
Saturday.
Oh, Saturday against Saturday. You got 3 points because you said 4-1, so you get 3 points for correct score. But you said Lecoq and it was Giroud.
I see. He's got a 4.
I'm listening to the end of the back week of podcast. I'm sure I said 2-0.
Which one?
Last week.
For Sunderland or for Stoke?
Sunderland.
Sunderland, you said 3-0. You can go check it if you want. Anyway, so Dom is now 12 points ahead of Carl. It's all moribund. It looks like the bloody Aussie has not only won all the hearts of the ladies in Canada, he's won this as well. So I'm going to go for a crazy end of season 4-4 and Sanchez to get all 4. And if I get that, it's a 50-point bonus.
Jace?
3-0 to the Arsenal. Mesut Ozil score first.
David?
Nervous 2-1 to the Arsenal. I can't go with Mesut because I was going to, so I'll have to go with Alexis.
Wonderful.
Couldn't we just all go Lukaku hat-trick? Fair enough, Kris.
Me 4-1 Arsenal. I don't know. Who's
He's been burgled by a strangler.
I'll just go Alexis. It's the obvious one, isn't it?
Okay.
Go Lukaku just to tempt fate.
Can we get bonus points? Can we get bonus points if we predict the Liverpool Middlesbrough game or not?
No. Yeah, 100 points. Dom doesn't get a go.
All right then. All right. You've said it. You've said it live on air now. Okay. Liverpool 1, Middlesbrough 1. If that happens, I get 100 points and I win. Deal.
Who's
on the air?
Both goal scorers?
Oh, so I have to get that as well, do I?
No, both scorers and the attendance.
Oh, come on. All right, I'll give you if I get first score and it ends 1-1, I win. Yeah. Deal.
No.
Oh, come on.
You can argue this with Dom.
Thank you.
No,
all right.
I'm prepared to do this.
Gimli said it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Liverpool 1, Middlesbrough 1. First scorer. What's the kid who hadn't scored for ages? Patrick Bamford. Bamford to score first.
He scored last week.
That's the
You
one.
should have gone
The
for
one who got that
Chambers.
goal. No. Patrick Bamford puts Middlesbrough ahead. Liverpool equalise late on, but it's not enough, and Arsenal fly into the Champions League. There you are. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Bosh.
Don't write that down.
Who's scoring
people.
for
It's not
Liverpool?
gonna happen.
I couldn't give a fuck, Jace. They're all cunts.
No,
Might as well be,
It's got to be.
Origi.
It's got to be Pikey Tino, whatever his name is, isn't it?
Sturridge. That's Sturridge. He's on the run.
Sturridge. He's too busy wiring his legs back together, isn't he?
Go on. So, Gimli, what's your prediction?
Yes. Well, I'm going 3-1. I'm going to do a deflection off of Bayern's man bun.
Just say Lukaku. Someone's got to say Lukaku.
What, Lukaku?
Yeah, who are you picking?
Lukaku.
Bless you.
Good. It's quadruple points if anyone picks Lukaku and wins.
What was that? Why did I have to say Lukaku for that? That was pathetic. I know you've given up.
He's mocking me. That's why he's mocking me.
Who was French Player of the Year?
Was it Cavani, Jace?
Oh, funny it was, wasn't it?
The most undeserving winner of the French Player of the Year.
You're so bitter.
Have you not watched Monaco this season? What did PSG win this season? Fuck all that mattered, honestly.
Oh, no, you don't say that when it's Arsenal and Arsene Wenger.
Jace, I bloody love the French league, but you get 20 a season in that PSG side, and I've seen how you run.
I got no knees.
Exactly.
The important thing about the French league, Chris, is Caen and Lorient going down.
Right, everybody, calm down. David's typing. I know he probably wants a beer. There, look, my whiskey is evaporating. Right, let's try and wrap this up. We'll do some shout-outs. I'm going to do the first shout-out to my lovely partner, Gooner Girl Kate, who's downstairs. So a big hello to her. I can confirm she will be back next week.
Any puppy news?
No, we're still no puppies. Danny, let's have a shout-out.
As usual, all from YouTube. Once going to Tyrone Holder, who says during this week's show that Jason hosted, I turned this off as soon as that guy said he'd keep Ozil over Sanchez. Well said. Also, from last week's podcast, I put in the YouTube thing. If anybody wants signed naked photos of Kris, let us know. So JPB 30,002 said, Bergkamp Wonderland, I want some. And then finally, Richard Garat 5 said Gimli's one bullet was brilliant. So there you go. Thank you very much. GARRATT5.
Fuck's sake.
We will be doing that with all the celebrities that come on the One Bullet feature, featuring the members of AFTV.
So remember, people, go to our YouTube, leave some comments, and it's usually only me and Gimli can be bothered to join in, apart from Kris if you besmirch him.
Yes. David?
Just the one this week, and I think I've already given him a shout-out once, but he's been banned under The Reaper moniker. So it's at The Reaper MK2, which is like the two capital I's or two small L's or whatever they are. Might even be 2 1s, I don't know. But anyway, really great guy from Australia. Came over, I gave him a little tour of Highbury and the pubs, and first class chap to have a nap with, even though whatever he did to get banned, I do not know.
Lovely.
They don't need a reason. It's Twitter.
No.
Jason?
One of my last followers, it's Michael at Mr. Hootie, MisterHootie. Hello.
There,
Kris.
Mine's a bit more of a personal one, so nobody on Twitter.
Here we go. This is going to be 10 minutes.
No. It's just
at
a quick
Francis Coquelin.
At Lecoq. Thank you to everybody, obviously, who likes me on Twitter. Thank you all. But this one's more of a personal one for my own interest. I didn't realise until I logged onto Twitter this evening that we've lost another one of the great rock stars of all time, in my opinion. No, he's fine, sadly. But no, Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and Audio Slave fame. Some people who follow me know that I'm very into my rock and my metal music. He's an absolute legend of his field. And I think, Danny, we're going to play a little tune later on of his work. But
you and Jace are going to decide, yes, because I've had a couple of people ask, can it be the end music? So we will.
Yeah, I don't think he was a big football fan or soccer, as it were, but no, a true musician of absolute. He's a genius at work, to be honest, singer-songwriter, and we don't know the ins and outs, but he did take his own life, and as we mentioned on this podcast before, we can all sound happy, and we can all take the piss out of each other and have a good life, but people don't realise that there's a lot of troubled geniuses out there, and there's a lot going on behind closed doors. So it's a shame that we've lost another one of life's great characters and true geniuses. So sad times. So I'd like to just give a little nod to the rock world tonight.
Yeah,
well said,
people, if you're feeling a bit down, talk to someone, please.
But not Jace, because he's a wrong.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, but but please talk to somebody.
Agreed.
He does, by the way.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, and,
Right
and
then.
Danny, at some point you and I need to do another one of our hideous YouTube giveaway things where we
Yes.
give away shirts for Pirates. So we'll do
Is
that.
this for the last 3 seasons?
That's the one. No, this is the Pirates one that people donated to me a year ago, and I still haven't got around to giving the shirts away. Sorry, everybody, it will happen. Promise.
You're a massive prat.
I know.
I love it.
If there are any,
Jace, I would have gone with prick.
That'll
Yeah,
work.
I was trying to be nice. I got all my energy out earlier on, okay? You know, fucking
you started
planes.
We will sort it.
Planes.
if there are, we must just make something clear. If there are any Somalian pirates listening, Chris didn't mean shirts for pirates as in you lot. He meant for the Pirates' pod. Yes,
Yeah.
'cause although you may be the captain of this ship, as some of them are no doubt saying.
Maybe ish.
Right, I will try my best to wrap this up. Then I can give you. There's no more blogs out this week.
No.
Chris, have you got anything planned with the radio show after the Everton game?
No, I'm taking a week off because somebody's hosting, either Shredder or Mr. Welsh.
I think Shreds
I
is
think
hosting.
Shredder is hosting. Yeah, I've got some commitments Sunday, so I shall be back for the cup final, all being well. But yeah, look forward to the radio show. I think, as I say, John or Mr. Shredder are hosting. I think we've got either Drew or I don't know who's on. Somebody's on, but
Drew
it'll
and
be
Carl,
there.
is it?
Drew and Carl, that's right. I think that's right. So we'll be back on Sunday after the Everton game to talk about our magnificent 4th place finish.
Wonderful. And I can confirm we have a packed list of guests next week. I'm trying to get podcasts out to you on today, which is the 18th, on the 25th, the 1st, and hopefully there will be a big live podcast at the end of the season where all of us will be involved, and that'll be on the 8th. So next week's guests will be John, Raj, Jeff, and possibly Kate or Fife, depending on who can do it. I think it's Kate. It depends. So we'll see.
All of them.
Yeah, maybe all of them.
Maybe.
You know, it's the end of
We're
the
all
season.
trained pros.
Let's let our hair down like Chris.
Yes.
But we won't buy any satin sheets to go with it. That's full Neuer.
Sake.
Right then, all that's left.
Sheets match his hair.
They do. The curtains do match the drapes.
Oh dear. It's gone there again, hasn't it? It's gone there.
Wonderful panelists tonight. Jason, David, Chris, Andrew, Kate, and Danny, you had to be here.
And so did you. Well done. 6 weeks in a row now. One more, it's a record.
You think with all of these appearances coming up, that's 6, 7, 8. We could be on to 9. We'd nearly be in double figures.
Never going to happen.
No, can't see it myself. Right then. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Get down, dog.
Good night.
Get down, dog.
Winner.
Oh, God. I tell you what, boys. That wasn't as dire as I thought it was going to be.
It's never fucking dire. How dare you, sir?
I just enjoy chatting shit with you boys, but fucking hell. Oh, I tell you what. When that plane went over on Saturday, I just thought, oh, for fuck's sakes. There's so many other things you can do. Do you know what I mean?
Like have intercourse or find your own penis, for example.
Oh, no, but you know...
God, I remember those days.
I don't, Dave.
I'm off. I got a glass needs filling. I'll sort you later.
See you, David.
David.
Be good.
You found yours yet, Danny, or are you still searching?
Apparently, all I needed was 3 mirrors, carefully angled. Got Pythagoras round. He helped me out.
Yeah, good.
So do you know what, Danny? Do you know who you remind me of? If you were a comedy character, you're a
whoever
cross.
it is, it's bound to be fat.
No. If you could put Alan Partridge in Brian Potter's wheelchair and have a combination of the two, I think you'd be there. Dan! Shit!
He probably can't hear me.
I just can't believe you came out with that.
I know.
I
And
know.
just
It's
crawl.
like the inner workings of my stoned mind. Sometimes I sit here and I think, "Oh, could you put wheels on a dog?" Like just random stuff like that.
Well, you can, because bless them,
Can, yeah.
some of them need, like, they have their back legs not working. They put little chairs on, don't they? It's quite cute.
Yeah, I eventually came to that like the thing like I had a pizza delivered and I was really stoned and I thought that the little thing that they put in there could be used as a table in a doll's house, and I spent like a good 20 minutes just looking at it, just like, wow, that's blown my mind. Someone said to me the other day, do you know Osama bin Laden could be Barack Obama? And I was sat there again, I was just fucking, I went one eye off one way, one eye off the other. I was fucking conscious thinking about it.
One's black and the other one is Middle East Arab.
How
No,
does
they
that
can't
work?
be.
No. There was further into this. The boy that actually told me, or the bloke that actually told me.
Oh, is it Donald Trump?
No, he said there was a video on YouTube. So go and have a look at it. It's
fucking
called
Alex Jones shit.
Osama, not Obama. And literally, I watched that when I was so baked the other night, and I was.
Danny, if this doesn't make the extras, then don't play any extras.
Obama's name isn't Obama. It's Barry Soto or something.
Bless you.
Apparently, Alex Jones is.
No, they're not just.
If you listen to Alex Jones, okay, you're a moron.
I love the one
Okay.
show, Jace.
Who is that? Oh, is it that Ben who presents it?
No,
Oh, she's
yeah,
a
you
right
leave her alone.
Jace,
She's a nice
not a word. Not a word. Don't ruin
She's
it.
a nice girl.